So thank you guys, everybody, for joining in today. I really do appreciate it. I'm really excited for this topic. So I think if you haven't caught one of our seminars before, boy, did you guys pick a great one to join on for your first one. If you have joined one of our seminars from our knowledge base series before, thanks for joining another one. We appreciate it. And I'm glad that we've made these interesting and encourage you to join back in for further sessions. So I'm David. I'm going to be one of your presenters today. And this is going to be kind of a new format for us. If you've joined for some of these others, we're going to have some co-presenters in that I'm going to be really excited to introduce you from our engineering team over at American Dynamics. So today we're going to be talking with the American Dynamics team, in particular about a new feature set that's been brought to the Victor and VideoEdge product, their NVR and IP recorder series, that are all really focused around interacting with your video faster, to be able to find whatever person of interest or subject that you're looking for in your video using new tools that are going to allow you to do that in a faster way without spending hours necessarily combing through video with your eyes. So without further ado, let's get going. Just a brief introduction for myself. So I work with IMI, Intelligent Marketing. We are the East Coast reps for American Dynamics and some of their sister companies, some complementary technology as well. So who is IMI? Well, you probably know them from the local reps that you guys deal with. They're the folks who probably reached out to you to get you involved along with your dealer with this call today. So my big thanks to them for helping me out and getting everybody involved in this and letting you guys know about this event going on. And they'll be a part of our follow-up with you. So any questions, we'll be having a Q&A at the end of this session for folks who can stay long. But they're also going to be a key part in following up with you, making sure that you get the answers that you need about this system. So my big thanks to them as well. Just to give you the most basic agenda of what we'll be going through here today. I just did my introduction. So I'll also be introducing you to the Victor and VideoEdge platform, just very briefly. If you haven't actually experienced with it, I'm sure a number of folks who are on the call today are already existing users of the Victor platform and the VideoEdge recorders here, but just give you the basic overview of really what we're trying to do with that product. And then a deep dive on really the subject of the day, re-identification. Which is a big one for us in terms of how we're going to be able to manipulate and search through your video a lot faster. So we'll be going through the particulars of that feature, how it works, what makes it work, and then we'll do a brief interview with our engineering team, who we've got multiple members of who have joined us from the afternoon. They are in the future, in a way, over around Belfast for us. I appreciate you guys from joining on. And then we'll be doing a live demonstration and they'll be leading that. So we'll have Laura, who's on the call with us, leading us through a live demonstration of this product in live use. And then finally, we'll do just a few closing remarks and have that Q&A. So without further ado, let's talk a little bit and introduce you, if you haven't been already, to the Victor and VideoEdge platform. The real concept with VideoEdge and really delivering it through the Victor software experience is to make interacting with your video seamless and just faster, feel like more of an immediate response. We're able to do that through our core feature that a lot of folks know us for, that's included with every VideoEdge, is our metadata-based lightning fast smart searches. So what that means is we are analyzing these cameras for where motion is activity in real time as they're recorded, whereas a lot of platforms are doing their smart search on buffered and recorded video. They go back after the fact and analyze it when you ask for that type of search. We're able to be faster by anticipating that type of search. We record that information ahead of time. So when we're flagging motion on the VideoEdge platform, it's not just that motion occurred, it's where in the frame motion occurred, what direction maybe that motion kind of went off to next, all packaged in and captured with the live video. So when you go back to do these searches, we don't need to do that analyzing then. It's already been done for us. And it sounds like a complicated way to go about searching, but it's really actually super easy to use. It's just presented with a normal search wizard, like a normal smart search, and all of that happens in the background. And then to enhance that, we have the ability to run analytics on board the VideoEdge recorders, further, saving you time, not having to go and analyze your video looking for certain behaviors. We're having the software do that again in real time for you. So that adds more to our metadata pool, things like color, things like behavior. What is that object doing in terms of where it's going, how long it's staying in an area, things like that. And we live capture that with the video. And that lets us do something really special when it comes to analytics. Most analytics are proactive. You set up the rule, it looks for that behavior, and it either catches it or it doesn't. If you didn't set up the rule right, or you didn't set up the rule anticipating a certain type of behavior, well, you've just got to hope you can catch it in the future and adjust your rules for going forward. With VideoEdge and through the Victor software, because we have that data on file, well, if you want to change and adjust those analytic rules, you can do that on the fly and apply it to that video that you'd already recorded. We have all the data already. It's just, what parts of that data are you looking for? So again, it makes it, lightning fast in terms of going through that data, and you can do it forensically. You can do it like an analytic search, not just an analytic alert. And that's something that's really special on the VideoEdge platform. And again, I actually think for our installers on the call, that little bit is a sneaky, awesome thing to make it easier to set up. A lot of times when we're trying to come up with these analytic rules, you're live walk testing them. It's more people on site walking around trying to kind of act out and replicate the activity that you're hoping to catch. What's nice about this, you can actually let the system record, turn on this analytic licenses, let it capture that metadata of the real world environment. And then a little bit later, maybe a week later, let's say you've got some stock footage, test out the rules that you want on that recorded footage. When you find the one that captures the activity exactly as you like, there's an apply as a rule button that's going to make it proactive going for you. So it's easy for operators to use. I think it actually makes the system easier to set up for our integrators as well. And then something that opens up now is we've got data. And we can use that data for more than just securing our site. And that's where value starts to come in a big way into the platform. That lets you perhaps improve operations. We've got actual customers that are using this for things like people counting, to have a rough idea of who is the number of people at their location, particularly maybe important now, given social distancing and restrictions in certain areas for how many people can be in an area. Things like heat maps. Where is the activity within the view of a camera most often? Do I have lines or crowds forming, maybe at a cash register? We actually have a grocery retailer that gets an alert in their office if lines start forming at their cash lane, so they know they need to start opening up other registers. That's all value beyond just the security of the system. And then again, to help make this all faster, there's a lot built into this platform so that you don't have to go to other places to find it. Things like incident report, being able to edit your clips or do face redactions all within the software itself without having to go to third parties or ship it off to video editors or things like that. Now, there's a quote that I think really, for me, puts a lot of meaning behind this concept of data, which is something that's a bit kind of new, thinking about it from a security standpoint. But I just love this quote because I think it's at the heart of what we're trying to do. The goal is to turn data into information, and then information into insight. Insight about the threats, maybe from a security standpoint, and how we are perhaps exposed or people try to expose us for those. And for that operationally, turning this data into insight about our businesses, about our schools, so that we can fundamentally use that to better our operations all around. And again, just add so much more value. And something to really put a bit of emphasis to this that I only heard recently in a podcast, but the concept just floored me, that there are a group of economists, and it's a growing group now, that consider data more valuable than oil. Now, they're talking about a bit different type of data. They're talking about big aggregate data, but the point is that this data is not worthless. There is a lot of money and savings and value in the data that these systems collect, and being able to do more with it with the Victor and VideoEdge platform just exposes you to that part of it. And again, lets you really use that to give savings or additional value to the system. So now let's talk more specifically about the feature of the day, and really the latest feature, and a very impressive one that I think hits on that ease of use, but also speed of reviewing video, perhaps more than some of the other recent features that we've added here, to the point where we wanted to focus on it. We call it intelligent person search. A way to think about this is really it's performing a search within Victor across your video for an individual from a photo. So there's a few different ways that we're able to do that. We'll talk about it. So it's now, again, layering in much more metadata, a big increase in the amount of data that we're capturing, but now it's factoring in items of appearance and unique characteristics about the individuals that are being captured on these cameras where you've enabled this feature. And again, it's captured as video is recorded. This isn't something we need to offload and process later. A lot of times for other folks that have similar type features, it's actually being processed, not in real time even necessarily, but on a second server. So that's more infrastructure, more expense to deploying this type of solution that we can do just within a normal VideoEdge server. And it's got a really straightforward workflow. We either capture someone's photo like you see in the screenshot here within Victor, or we can upload a photo, and it's going to compare that photo against metadata that was already generated on the cameras where we've turned on this feature. It's great for entrances or hallways, maybe big gathering areas, items like that. So you can kind of target its use. And then it's going to compare the metadata of the person in that uploaded photo against the metadata that was captured, try to identify them in our video footage. And it does it very, very quickly. You're going to get to see exactly how quickly. And what's nice about this is you have two means of presenting it. It's going to present you with possible sightings initially, either based on the time of the sighting, so you can see kind of a walkthrough, if you like, or by the confidence level. And it's always going to return results. So even if we don't ultimately find the person that you're looking for, we are going to return some results of at least the closest looking people that the system is able to find. And we're just going to bluntly express the confidence that the system has in that. And think about this. This can save hours of reviewing the video manually. If you're looking for a person, particularly in crowds, how many cameras do you have to look across? How many hours do you have to review on each of those cameras, even if you're smushing up all the motion data to try to find that person? For even a site of small to medium size, that can be a lot of time combing through video. It's really using the intelligence of the system to do that for you. So it's doing that via a neural network modeled analysis. And to talk about that, we've got Yohai actually on, who's going to talk to us briefly about how this neural network model works.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yohai. So the way that neural network model works is actually quite similar to the way our brain works, or like a little kid. So nowadays with AI, there's no need to specifically code or write algorithm to do something. You can actually train it. For example, if you take a little kid, you just show him, animal, birds, cats, deer, and after he looked at that, he can identify them when he walks outside. And in the same manner, you just train a model. You show him many, many images of, you can see here, airplanes, vehicles, birds, cats, etc. And after this process of training, the model is very, very accurate. It's even in some cases superhuman accurate. And the other process in real time is called inferencing. It means that we take the video, we pass it through the model, and the model is able to detect and classify objects. And in our cases, what we train the model for identification is to recognize people. So if the model gets images of the same person in different cameras, different lightings, indoors, outdoors, from the top, even from behind, he can recognize the person the same way that a person can do, and can do it very, very fast. Thank you.
Thank you, Yohai. Really appreciate it. Yeah, it's really clever. In the old days, we used to try to describe these objects to the computer, and it really was very kind of low accuracy at best. How do you explain to someone what a person looks like? Well, they've got a head and shoulders, unless they're crawling or doing other things or waving their arms. It just changes. And that's not how you teach somebody. You teach you show someone enough images or enough reference points, they're going to learn how to tell one person from another. Same way a child learns to tell a red ball from a red apple. So it's just improved the accuracy of these systems phenomenally And you're going to get to see that in just a moment. So now I get to introduce some other members of Yohai's team as well, who are joining us as well. So Laura, I'm going to speak about in a moment. She's going to be leading our demonstration today. So you see Yohai on here. He's our senior manager for artificial intelligence R&D at American Dynamics. We also have their coworker David Monahan on. He's our director of engineering. Both long times in the industry, as you can see, working with everything from analytics to Internet of Things technology, which really all this is tying into. And Laura, who's going to be leading our demonstration today, she's been with JCI, gosh, since back, I think in 2012, started off in an internship program, got her honors degree in IT, and was brought back on a permanent basis to work with the testing and development and R&D teams. And she's parlayed that now to be one of our really the manager of our technical services team, who helps interface between our engineering group for this with customers, both on customer needs, customer deployments, working with, how and to what end we would apply all the different AI and analytic feature sets with our customers. So she works hand in hand with our customers and end users on, helping us kind of walk in your shoes and, build the right type of features to work for you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand things over here to Laura, and you're going to get a chance to see the system in action.
Just checking you can hear me okay here, David?
We hear you great. Thank you.
And hopefully you should see my screen now.
Yep, all good, Laura.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm really excited then today to show you our person re-ID search. So thank you very much, David, for the presentation and the introduction. Yeah, I do a lot of work with our customers, working hand in hand to see what kind of features they like, trialing these features, and then feeding a lot of the feedback into our engineering team. So just a quick overview of what we've got here today. This is our Belfast office. Unfortunately, just due to COVID, the building isn't just as busy as it would usually be. But just in the top here, we've sent Rachel on a little walk around the building here, and we're going to use her as our first subject to do a re-ID search. So I know David spoke about this is our Victor interface. You can see there are some other people walking around the building here. Rachel entering into the lab here. So there are some other people that are overlapping with the search that we're going to do with Rachel. But yeah, this is our Victor interface. And the cameras really that I'm showing on screen, there's 10 in total across 2 video edges that we're going to be using today. We have these all set up to do the person re-ID. So we're going to kind of run these searches, as I say, across 10 cameras on 2 video edges. Also just note here, we've got Sarah coming out of the left. Her and Rachel are actually dressed quite similarly. So you'll see both of them kind of walking in these 2 panes here. They're both wearing very dark clothing, dark hair, hairs in ponytails, and they're also both wearing face coverings over them as well. So just you'll be able to see how the system interacts with this as we do these kind of searches today. So Rachel is just entering back into the main lab here. And what we're simply going to do is enter into playback mode in order to enable the re-ID search. So I'm simply just clicking on the pane here and then selecting the pause button. And then you'll see that this enables our intelligent search person re-ID. And it basically gives us a drawing tool that we can use then to draw around the subject. You will notice I'm drawing the bounding boxes kind of very tightly around the subject, and we would recommend that you do that just to kind of keep the results as specific as possible. You can see now I'm dragging in cameras across 2 of our video edges. There are quite a lot of cameras here, but as I said, we actually do only have the re-ID set up across 10 of these cameras. We're also going to very bravely attempt a last day search. So you'll just be able to see then, once we hit search, we're going to go off and search for all these results on Rachel across these cameras for the 10 days, or sorry, for the 10 cameras. You will see it will take a few seconds in order to do this, but 10 cameras, 24 hours worth of footage. This is a long time and something that you would definitely not want to be searching manually. But here we go. The results are now returned along the bottom. And you can see each of the results then show a bounding box around what we believe to be Rachel. As we hover over each of the results, it shows us the date, time, the camera, and importantly, the confidence level of what it believes to be Rachel. And as we just click on these results, it simply plays them and we see the bounding boxes then. So just going through some more of these of what it believes to be Rachel. And the bounding boxes as they come up as well. So again, you can see that all these kind of first results are very high confidence ratings in that it believes it's Rachel. This is actually a really, really good search of Rachel in that every single result that we have returned here are all of Rachel. So you can see it's across a range of different cameras. We have her in the lab, in the hallways. This one here in the hallway, still a very high confidence factor. Across a range of multiple cameras. So we also have her again in the lab, in the demo area. And these, again, these other results at the end, still very high confidence factor, even at the end with that kind of 54% that it believes it's Rachel. There's one here that Rachel is simply just kind of poking her head out and walking around. And this one is her back to the camera as well. So they were the lowest ranking results, but still accurate in that they are Rachel. So just showing you again the range of different results. And as I say, all results returned here were actually of Rachel. So quite a good search result here. Just showing you again. So just to show you in comparison, as we said earlier on, we had Sarah, the cleaner. She entered out of the lift earlier on. So just to show you how the system interacts and how if we run the exact same search result with Sarah as the subject this time as we ran for Rachel across the same time, the same cameras, how we kind of get these search results back. So right now I'm just entering into playback, trying to find where Sarah came out of lift. So please excuse my driving skills here as we just try to navigate back to the right time. So there's Sarah entering, and I'm going to do the exact same thing again in drawing the bounding box around Sarah. Again, keeping that very, very tight. And then again, we're just going to take the exact same cameras that we did the last time across the two different recorders. So again, two different recorders, 10 cameras, and a last day search that we're doing on Sarah here. Again, it'll take a few seconds to return these results. It is an awful lot of footage and something, as I say, that you definitely wouldn't want to be searching through manually across all these cameras for a day, trying to find the results. So just waiting on the results to return back from Sarah, and they will be displayed in the exact same way as we saw the results for Rachel. So again, as we start to hover over, we can see the confidence levels and we start to play back these results then. So there we go. We actually have it that it's Sarah and not Rachel. So really just demonstrating here that, you know, we've had two very, very similar people. We are running the exact same search on the exact same cameras for the exact same time range. And we're seeing the range of different results that we get. All Rachel's results completely related to her and Sarah's results here with Sarah. It is important to point out that kind of how the results come back to us is very similar to something like a Google search. So what we have is the results at the very top are really the most relevant and accurate to us. We will, however, as you start to filter down, there will be some results that maybe aren't as accurate or aren't as relevant, but we are showing them just in case it's something that you may be interested in. And in your security world, that is very important because if a serious incident has happened, you want to be sure that you have definitely got all the footage that you need and you're not potentially missing a very important piece of that puzzle. So that is why we do kind of rank them by the highest confidence and why you will sometimes see search results in there that maybe aren't 100% that person, but they're very, very close and similar. And it would be something that we would potentially, you know, erring on the side of caution that we wouldn't want you to miss.
Yeah, that's a good point, Laura, about the err on the side of caution, that if the worst case comes to worst, we will bring up something which may appear similar, but we're not missing anything, which is the crucial thing. It's okay to have a couple of false positives, but you do not want to miss anything. So, you know, that's important.
Yeah, and this search result here of Rachel is the perfect example of that. So we did show it in the previous result that it's literally just a few seconds, her kind of dashing around the corner, and that could have potentially really been either or. So it is important that we did show it in both searches just to make sure that, you know, it wasn't something that you were missing. So again, just going through all the search results for Sarah, but again, pretty accurate, good results. As you can see, some of these again are kind of backwards views of her back that we're capturing, same as we did for Rachel. So there's one just totally with the back to the camera, but we're still picking up that it's her. So all the different confidence factors there and the range of different results.
I've got to say, too, it's doing a better job of telling these two apart probably than I am going through the So I can't imagine actually doing this in the real world. And you're right. I mean, looking at them, they both have dark hair and ponytails, dark clothing, dark masks. And from a distance, it's figuring out what it needs to know to actually tell the two of them apart.
Yeah, so it is. Well, as I said, it is that main. Sorry, go ahead, Lee.
No, absolutely. And you can see from the camera views we have, you know, they are normal, you know, camera's position. There's no, you know, fancy things done here. They're not down, you know, head height. It's just the normal security deployment. And it's nice to see now that we've turned these into multi-role sensors, if you like.
No, absolutely. So just really to finish off the demo then, guys, and really a way around of potentially if you maybe have a few search results that aren't 100% relevant to you, you can just simply do what I've done here. We can select on the results that are of relevance to us, and then just kind of utilizing the features in Victor already. We can choose to export these out. And as I say, the range of different features that Victor has on this, you can see then we've got the different clips that have been selected. We can choose to save these off, export them out, and combine output. So I do actually have an example then here of ones that I've saved off earlier on. These are actually some results of Rachel. So just showing you as well that once you've kind of gone through your search, you know, you can create your whole incident. And this is maybe potentially then the different types of footage that you may want to export out to share with managers of the building, with law enforcement, to show the kind of the full view of your incident across the multiple cameras. So then just in this scenario, I'm just using our Victor player to play this back. So just going into 4 times fast forward here to kind of fly through the different clips of Rachel. So it's really just showing and seamless into the different clips of Rachel then. So you do have that one combined clip that can be easily accessible for everyone then to review this going forward. So that is person re-ID in a nutshell, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the demo. I'm sure there's certainly loads of questions, but David, if we want to pass back to yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. So just to finish up, guys, we'll come back to my screen here. So again, I want to thank Laura and the engineering team for helping us put this together, because that was a phenomenal demo. And I think you guys are going to be glad to be getting the link to the recording after this, so you can watch that again and see, you know, again, just the impact of that. So just in summary, before we go to the Q&A, hopefully, if we left you with anything, we want to leave you with the idea that while this is a next generation and in a way in the background complicated feature, I think we've made it really easy to use. One button from your screen, one photo, whether you're capturing it from the screen or you've uploaded it, and you're going to get results, either ranked by confidence or the time that they've happened. And it's something that's easy to deploy. This is not something that requires a whole other machine to go and do the processing and load up. We can license our 2U 3-rack unit hybrid VideoEdge servers that have the horsepower to do this on the box itself. So it's just a license away on your VideoEdge server. And that's going to, of course, lower those system costs, not having that second device that you need to spin up and bring into your environment. And the application of this feature can potentially save you hours of manually combing through these video feeds, trying to identify subjects. It's one thing in a quiet site like this, where at least in these bursts of motion, it's individuals. but picking people out of crowds and things like that especially becomes that much more difficult. Or you have a scenario like this where we've got two very similar looking people and we don't want to get that false positive and start spinning our wheels trying to find the wrong person. So with that, we're going to move to the questions. So for the Q&A portion, you guys are able to unmute yourselves, so you can feel free to submit any questions you have in the chat, or unmute yourself and you can join us and ask any questions that you have, and we'll stay on as long as you guys have questions for us. So I see one coming in here from the chat just now, team. It's asking, can the intelligent search feature be utilized with thermal image recordings? Great question. Have we, so if that's for the Belfast team, if you could speak to whether this is something that can be applied to thermal images or is looking for traditional CCTV footage.
So yeah, the model would not have been trained to work with thermal images, just regular RGB color images.
But just to add to that, I assume that, again, if all the cameras are thermal cameras, not some of them RGB and some of them thermal, I assume it will work to less degree accurate, but it will still work to some degree.
So you'll get results, but it's not trained for that type of image.
Yeah, it will be less.
Put out there too. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it will be less accurate than what we have seen now, but it will still work. Exactly.
Gotcha. That's something too, where a lot of these thermal cameras have a companion color imager that we could theoretically run off the color imager while you're still doing your thermal scans, especially for building entry triage and stuff like that for fever detection, things like that. I know is something that's in a lot of use at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, David. Sorry, just on that as well, David. Sorry. So like for our thermal camera, we've also got a second stream which we'd use instead. So your primary stream would be your thermal stream, but the secondary JPEG stream would be pulled in, and that's we'd run the metadata against that. That's one solution for that.
Excellent. We've got another one.
Can I have a question? Is there a way to add a photo to this to the video system, and then it can identify that photo? So say we have a picture of a person who's not allowed to enter the building. We add a photo to the system and it catches it, and then when he comes in, we can get an email or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Laura showed one mechanism of how you would do your initial search, but it could be a matter of uploading an image instead of doing that snapshot. So if we had an image from law enforcement or someone that's been barred or personnel image, we'd upload that. I guess it would have to be sufficient quality and something which was reflective of how they look.
Yeah, so
one
just
thing though to point out, this is really meant to be a search feature rather than like a proactive alert. There is another Tyco AI product that is really facial recognition for photo and for more of that proactive, whitelist, blacklist type of alerting for folks coming onto your facility. There are features focused more on that type of application as well that we didn't go through today, but we're happy to talk more to you about.
Yeah, just to clarify that, it's really two different types of analytic. So this one is based on the overall appearance of a person. So it takes into account things like what they're wearing. For somebody like a person of interest, then yes, as David said, it would be very much looking at face recognition, which is another feature we have, but it's a different type of analytic model.
Thank you.
Excellent. So we have a question on here. Does this require a GPU card in the server?
No, we can run this on standard VideoEdge hardware on CPU. So likes of a 2U IP or the 2U rack mount NVR.
I don't know if that's referring to the deep learning version of the VideoEdge NVR that came out a while ago that had like a GPU built on for additional resources. It will work on that server. Those additional resources may help it, but they're not a requirement. We can run that on our standard VideoEdge hardware. Which version of VideoEdge would folks need to be on to take advantage of this for folks who might be needing to upgrade or looking to upgrade?
Yeah, so it's version 5.6 introduced this feature. So that was released last summer.
Excellent. Is there a limit generally to the VideoEdge for how many folks can do a search at the same time? That probably depends a little bit on how heavily you've loaded your VideoEdge, but.
Yeah, there's no hard limit, but yes, it's down to, you know, I guess looking at the overall system design and you know, and designing it to cope with, you know, the certain number of cameras you want to run this analytic on, other cameras, and then I guess numbers of users, workstations, Victor workstations, and so on.
Excellent. Is there a minimum resolution and frames per second needed for the search feature? Is there a quality of video or a frame rate that's too low for this to work successfully?
So we run the analytic stream at 7 FPS is our recommendation. It can run higher, but you know, as long as we're 7 FPS or better, that's fine. In terms of resolution, then again, it comes down to system design. We need a certain number of pixels, you know, to what makes up a person. So based on camera angles, distance from the subject you'd be searching for, you know, say for example, you want to pick people out from a longer distance, then you need a higher resolution. So again, that can be part of the system design. Gotcha.
But in terms of talking about like megapixel cameras, we're not going to, you don't need a minimum megapixel, folks, to be able to apply this. No. It's more that distance that we're talking about. If you really want this to identify folks at a great distance, pixels on target is still our metric. So more pixels will help that to an extent. But even if you're working with, you know, 1 megapixel cameras, there's enough pixels present for us to be able to deploy this feature. Excellent. There's a question. I know generally we've looked at this based on our hardware. Is this something that could potentially run on the virtualized version of VideoEdge that we have?
Yes, it could, because it requires CPU only. So it could run on a virtual system. Again, it's going to come down to sizing because the AI requires certain resources. So, you know, it's looking at you know, numbers of cameras running this analytic, and dimensioning it appropriately.
Yep, excellent.
Can we get clarity on whether the license is per camera or is this per the NVR?
Great question. It is per camera, but it is not tied to like the MAC address of a specific camera. So you would license your NVR for the number of channels that you wanted running this feature. And then, you know, ultimately you have that number of cameras you can apply that license to. If you decided, you know, if you had to replace an exterior camera, let's say one shorted out or something like that, you don't need to go and start, you know, pushing paperwork around to move the license from one camera to another. But it is a per camera feature, so that, you know, even smaller systems, if you only had a couple entrance cameras that you wanted it on to know, hey, you know, can I see if this person entered my building? You know, it's going to be, you know, still cost effective to be able to deploy.
Okay, and is there a minimum spec for this camera, or is this pretty versatile for all AD cameras?
Very versatile, even for non-AD cameras, because this is being run on the VideoEdge itself. So it's really just about having enough pixels on target to hit the distance that you're looking for. So really, if we're working with megapixel technology, we should be able to deploy this feature on that camera.
Thank you.
How much is it per license per camera?
That's something that, you know, for licensing, we also want to factor in resources for the unit as well. So it's similar really to our normal camera license, if you're familiar with that cost. We do have our local IMI folks on the call, so I'd probably have you reach out to and work with your local IMI rep for any kind of costs or scenarios you want to lay out with different camera quantities, different VideoEdge servers there, so they can really talk about you know, a particular environment. But it's very similar, I think just a hair more than what our normal camera license costs. So. Checking the chat here, see if we have any others that have come through. Also take a peek earlier, see if maybe some came through in the conversation while we were doing our presentation. Doesn't look like. Well, I'm going to advance the slide here for a moment, put my contact info and some other resources up here for everybody. Anybody else who's stayed on the call with us, any other questions we can answer for you? And I apologize if I missed one in the chat there. If you want to take yourself off mute, just pose the question again. I want to make sure we've had a chance to speak to anybody's questions that have come up.
Hi, quick question. Can it be used with 360 cameras?
Great question. So that's for the Belfast team there. 360 cameras. Will we have enough pixels on target from the right model?
So I guess if we had deworked views from a 360 camera and recording those, it could work. But it hasn't been optimized to work with like a fisheye 360 camera. Multi-lens camera, yes, it can do that, where you've got multiple individual lenses covering the 360 degrees. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, so the warped view is going to ultimately affect the metadata that we're capturing.
Okay, thank you very much.
But yeah, especially I know those are popular for entrances. A lot of those cameras do have the ability on a secondary stream to put out like a dewarped image of an entrance or something like that. So that could potentially be, a way we could apply it with better accuracy to that type of camera. All right, I do see, yes, the VM question did get answered. Just to as a recap, it could run in VM. It's all about system resources. Personally, I don't know if that's the most value-oriented application of VM, because we are talking about a significant amount of resources just recording the cameras, let alone starting to doing things like analytics and stuff like that. But it's not a limitation of the system. It's all about having the appropriate resources and being the best use of those VM resources for you. All right, well, I'm going to take just a moment, send off a few files here through the chat now that I've figured out how to do that. And I want to thank everybody again so much for joining on the call, for staying with us. If you stayed through to hear through the Q&A, appreciate you taking the time to do that. In addition, you're going to be getting an email from us. So once I've had a chance to edit this video and get it up onto our YouTube channel, be able to send you a link for you to be able to access that. So again, really want to thank the Tyco team for coming on through their afternoon, morning for us here on the States to help us out with this. You guys were a huge help answering questions, and that demonstration was just phenomenal. So again, you guys are going to get a copy of this video link so that you'll be able to replay that and show that to other folks as well. And if you have any questions, again, you see my contact information up here. Reach out to me at the IMI office, shoot me an email, or contact your local IMI rep for any other questions that we couldn't take care of for you today. Well, thank you guys so much, and everybody enjoy the rest of your morning. Stay safe, and hopefully I'll get to talk to you guys again soon. Have a good one.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Take care.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
Awesome demo.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
job.
Cheers.
Thanks, everybody.